Genuinely, don't even want to talk about it much because it was so hard. Her thumb was like stuck like this. In the worst case scenario, there could be some form of cerebral palsy. Can you get your high chair for 1 minute, please? Oh, good morning, guys. I hope you're doing okay. I'm coming to you from my new camera. Just spilled a load of tea, so that's great. Anyway, yeah, I'm coming to you from my new camera because if you guys saw my last vlog, you'll have seen that Hallie decided to grab my tripod and chuck it, and my other camera broke. It's still very much broken, and there is no recovering it, so I'm gonna have to sell it for parts or something. But I did get a new camera, which I'm very grateful that I was able to get, and I thought today, because I haven't had the chance to properly vlog because my camera only came yesterday, I thought I could do a little Q&A. So I picked out a few questions that I got over on Instagram, and I thought we could sit down and do those. Hallie's just having her breakfast next to me, and I'm just gonna have a cup of tea, answer a few questions, as many as I can, until she needs to come out of her high chair, and then we'll probably pick it up a little bit later in the day, but I'll try and get through as many questions as possible, and then be back to vlogging and stuff next week. So I feel like this one's a good one to start with, and it is, what does being self-employed look like for you? How did you manage to get like an extra year off work, and do you have to pay back your maternity leave pay if you're not going back to work? So it's all kind of around that, and I did get this question over on Instagram, so I don't know whether they just haven't seen the video that I posted explaining all of this, but if you haven't seen it, then I'll link that down below and stuff, basically explaining why I'm not going back to work, how I got that agreement with work and stuff. Obviously not every employer is going to have this in place, but thankfully mine have a system in place where if you want to take extended special unpaid leave, that's exactly what it's called, then you can apply for that, and the team don't have to accept it, but my team did accept it, and basically I take an unpaid year off after my maternity leave finishes. So my maternity leave finishes in July, and at that point I'll get paid from work the annual leave allowance that I accrued over my year off. So that's about I think maybe 25 days. So I only work part-time, I work 4 days a week rather than 5. So I think it's 20 days maybe. So 20 days worth of pay, which is basically a month's pay, which would be really, really handy. And then basically I defer going back to work rather than quitting completely, which means that I get a year off, but I get a year off, the way that I'm gonna make my income on this year off instead of through work is through YouTube and through Instagram and doing brand deals and getting views from you guys, because I get paid on YouTube to get views basically. So that's hopefully how I'm gonna make money. I do also have some money in savings, just in case that doesn't go to plan, because let's face it, it's volatile out there. So I've got a bit of savings as well. But yeah, that's kind of my plan money-wise, and taking that year off. That does mean, because I'm only deferring going back to work, it means that I don't have to pay back my statutory maternity pay or the pay, my workplace maternity pay, if that makes sense, the money that I got paid from my work rather than the statutory one. If I decided to then not go back after that year and basically quit, hand in my notice, I'm pretty sure then I would have to pay it back, but that is not my plan, that's not my intentions. I will be going back to work at some point, but yeah, not yet. But yeah, that's why I don't have to pay back my maternity pay. And in terms of what it's gonna look like for me, I think I mentioned in that video, we're planning on popping Hallie into childcare for 2 mornings a week, which will allow me to do all the admin stuff of responding to emails, filming, where you won't have a babbling baby in the background like you do right now, all of that kind of stuff. It's only going to be maybe 3 hours in the morning, but 2 of those 3-hour chunks will come in very handy if I want to make a proper income from this. Okay, so the dishwasher started going off. Hallie is definitely bored already of the high chair. So I am already going to give up and pick you guys back up when it's more quiet. It's a bit more quiet in here. Okay, we are back. A cup of tea, change of scenery, and a nap time later. we're back, baby. Oh my gosh, honestly, getting Callie down for that nap was so difficult. Like, she had a couple of late nights, the last couple of nights, because we've had a few birthdays in the family and we've been out and stuff, and it's been lovely, but my children do not respond well to lack of routine. Like, they are genuinely effed. Like, yeah, not ideal, but anyway, she's down for a nap. Fingers crossed I can film a bit of this video so that we can get something out onto YouTube this week. So jumping straight back into the Q&A, hopefully with less background noise this time. One of the other questions was, where do you see yourself in 5 years? As a mum, as a wife, professionally, location-wise, like, basically what's your 5-year plan? And I'd love this question because I feel like I am such a 5-year plan kind of person. Like, I love thinking about the next step. What do I want my life to look like in 5 years, and what am I going to do now to make sure that that's my reality, or like, you know, build something now for later. Like, that's definitely something that I love to do. And to be honest, like, the last 5 years have been building to this, and I'm now living the thing that I've like worked for, basically. Like, I've got my 2 kids, I am taking an extra year off work, I'm working for myself, still earning money, which is really important to me. Like, I still need something to do with myself. Like, I couldn't not have a thing, and my thing is YouTube, my thing is like social media, and I love that so much. And everything that I've been doing since like 2020 basically has been building to this. Like, you know, I wanted to spend more time with my kids, I wanted to be around for pickups, drop-offs, and not have to be commuting into London all the time, and all of that kind of stuff, and that's sort of what has happened. Like, and we also live in an area that we want to live in. Like, we aren't just like going here, there, everywhere because of my husband's work. Like, you know, we used to have to move around the country a lot, and we feel settled. Like, we know that the kids are gonna grow up around this like neck of the woods, which is just really nice to know. In terms of like my 5-year plan from now, so like in 2029, I guess I see myself probably living in a different house if I had my own way. I'm already looking on Rightmove and sending links to Ash all the time. And I don't know if that's going to be our reality or not. I hope it is. But I'd like to say that next house would be pretty much dream house territory. Like, not when we move in, but when we're finished with it. And in that sense, like, hopefully we buy a doer-upper basically, but the outside is nice and it's got potential. Like, it's got a nice drive, it's got decent sized bedrooms, and, you know, it probably needs gutting from the inside out, but we'll renovate it over years, and by the end of it will be a house that we want to stay in forever. Like, that would be my absolute dream. You know, money wise and all that, it's interest rates, etc. Like, it might not be my reality, but a girl can dream. Like, that is what I would absolutely love in terms of house wise. I would like it to be roughly around this area. I'm not stuck to this town necessarily, but like this area, like, we like living locally to friends and family, and, you know, like, we never used to think that was as important as it is, but I feel like COVID taught us how important it is to be around people that you love. Because, you know, when we were up in Lincolnshire when we moved to Lincolnshire like halfway through COVID when George was born. Like, he was 3 weeks old. Before that we lived in Hampshire. Before that I lived in Essex. Like, and Ash has moved like loads more than that as well because of his job. So basically we want to be settled here in a house that, you know, we can see ourselves in for years and years and years, like the house that the kids properly grow up in. And in terms of like the kids and stuff, they'll both be at school. They'll be 2 school years apart, which will be really nice. They'll be in primary school. I think George will be like halfway through primary school. He starts in September 2025. Hallie starts in September 2027. So Hallie will be in year 1 and George will be in year 3, I think. So yeah, that'll be really lovely. And because they'll be at school, I'll have the flexibility to either maybe still be on YouTube if you guys will still have me like making videos and stuff, and also back at work. And I think probably by the time I do go back, so in a year's time I'll be going back to work, and then I'll probably stay in my like department. I work for the Ministry of Defence. I'll hopefully stay in that department for a little bit, but I probably would look, depending on what policy looks like and what the government looks like and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get into that, but all of that stuff, there might be other opportunities in different departments. And I've always had a really massive interest in education. The right job's never really come up. I'd quite like to work in the Department for Education and focus on like early years stuff, so policy for early years. Obviously I know a lot of you guys will be affected by a lot of the things like nursery prices and, you know, the funding that's come in for 9-month-olds and like 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds and all that kind of stuff. I'd love to work on that from someone that's like experienced it firsthand and is just like a normal person. I feel like sometimes I definitely get the impression that a lot of people making policy like aren't the people that it's affecting and therefore can't see it from that point of view. And I think it's really important to have people in a room that from all different backgrounds and all different experiences to make a policy and shape it, because otherwise you get stuck in a bit of a silo where everyone's just agreeing with everyone and you have just the same point of view, and I don't think that's like the best way to, well, live life, frankly, but certainly not make government policy. Anyway, so that's probably like what I would like to do in like a few years' time, but that's not my priority right now. Like at the moment, it is very much like being at home with the kids and, you know, making the best of this like situation that I've been given and worked for. Like the fact that I've even got this opportunity is amazing. I'm just gonna make the most out of like the social media stuff as much as I can until, you know, it might not be viable anymore, but I'm just gonna ride the wave for as long as I possibly can, basically. In terms of everything else, I'd quite like to do some more traveling with the kids, whether that's in the UK or not. Like as they get a little bit older and they need less naps, less bottles, less all of that kind of stuff, as they get to like children, I'd really like to get a camper van and just go like traveling across Europe, or hire a boat for the weekend and go sailing, or go like camping or whatever, like just those kind of things. Like I love doing those things. Ash and I used to do that kind of stuff all the time before kids, so we would love to do some more of that when it gets that little bit easier, especially now that Ash kind of can like forward plan a little bit, because when you're in the army you really can't. You don't know when your leave's going to be, you don't know whether you're going to get called up to go on tour like at a moment's notice. So now he's in a normal job, we can book annual leave, like we can book in the holidays, we can book in breaks, he knows he's going to be free on a weekend, like yeah, it'll be a lot easier. So fingers crossed that's what our like next 5 years look like. Nothing like mad, extravagant. Like obviously the house is like a bit of an ambition, but to be honest, like I'm just very content. I am very happy. But yeah, like I say, I've got a bit of an itch with the house, but that's just on me, I think, because we've only lived here for 2 years and I'm already talking about moving, which is not ideal, especially considering Ash has just done the kitchen and the bathroom. But I'm very intrigued like as to what that's done to the house price or whatever. But anyway, next question. The next one is, when did it get easier with 2 kids, or is it still difficult? And the honest truth to that is, yeah, of course it's still difficult. Like it's so difficult. But if you are in the absolute trenches of having a newborn and a toddler, I cannot tell you how hard you have it right now. Like, I mean, I don't know if this is going to be everyone's experience, but from a lot of people that I've spoken to, it was very similar to mine. And if you want to like have a little sight into what that was like for me, an edited version, it's fair to say, but an insight nonetheless, have a look at my back catalogue of vlogs and stuff, because it was brutal. Like I was genuinely on my knees, physically, mentally, emotionally, like especially on the emotional side, like wow. Genuinely don't even want to talk about it much because it was so hard. Like everything that I feel like I went through in those first not even 6 weeks, like it was more than that. It was probably 6 months if I'm totally honest. But those first 6 weeks, those first 12 weeks, those first 3 months, like, oh my goodness, it was so hard. And I just, if you are in that right now, just know, like feel validated by me saying this, that you are literally doing something that is the hardest job in the world under strenuous circumstances, like so much pressure, so little sleep. Like genuinely, we're so amazing that we get out of bed every day and just crack on and we make plans and we get out of the house. Or even if we don't and we've set up activities for our kids or whatever, or we're breastfeeding and we're trying to deal with a toddler tantrum, we're doing it. Like it was insane, and it isn't that insane anymore. It's still insane at times, but that's not like my constant minute by minute. It's not like minute by minute. I'm doing it hour by hour now. Do you know what I mean? I have a plan in my head and I execute the plan, and the plan mostly works. Mostly. Like we'll have hiccups, we'll have loads of hiccups, but we don't have like second after second hiccups where it just feels like you're fighting a losing battle. Like, that's how I felt. And I know that that's not everyone's experience. I like really struggled with my mental health. I wasn't doing very well myself. I was looking after the kids and I was not looking after myself whatsoever. But in terms of like when it truly got easier for me, I have to say it was around the time I stopped breastfeeding, because that was one less pressure I was putting on myself. And that was around the 5-6 month mark. And from then, so it was around Christmas, is when I really felt it getting easier. And that was because of a mixture of things. I'd say it was mainly the breastfeeding thing, but because of the breastfeeding thing, Hallie started sleeping better. She was only getting up twice rather than 10 times a night. She was napping a little bit longer. Also the sleep training kind of thing that we did helped with that as well. Like, I started putting her down into her cot rather than like rocking her to sleep or feeding her to sleep. That was a journey. And I have spoken about that in vlogs and stuff, but honestly, like, yeah, it wasn't easy, but it had to happen, otherwise I think I would have broke. Truthfully, also George going to things like forest school that actually wore him out. He was out all day doing really fun stuff, and he'd come home and he was then tired and like not running around the house as much and being crazy. But if I have to say like a proper turning point for like feeling really good about life with 2 kids, I'd have to say it's the 9-month mark. It got so much easier after the 5-6 month mark, but it was still hard every single day. Whereas now it's not hard every single day. It's frustrating. It's, you know, you have moments where it's like, what is going on? But it's not hard. You have hard days, but it's not every single day. Whereas like, yeah, from the 9-month mark, Hallie's 11 months now. From the 9-month mark, I'd say it got like a lot easier. She started eating more. Like, there was just so many things that just went into it, and yeah, I'm very grateful for where we are now. I don't want anything to change now. Don't get me wrong, I would like George to listen a little bit more and, you know, not have as many meltdowns about random things, but it is what it is. Hallie's in a great age, and they get on really well. Like, I do find though, when babies get that little bit older and, you know, she's nicking his toys and stuff like that, but other than that, like, they get on so well, and I feel like I can finally see the bond and like the love is so prominent. I remember I did something, I think I got the Hoover out or something, and Hallie started crying because she didn't like the noise, and George was like, "Mummy, stop it, you're making Hallie cry, my baby, my Hallie." Like, he was so protective over her, and it was just like the cutest thing ever. And like, when I go into nursery and like all the kids are like all around Hallie, and George goes up to her like, "This is my baby, this is my Hallie, don't touch her." And then like Hallie grabbed something off of one of the kids, and George was like, "Hallie doesn't know, Hallie's just a baby." Like, it was just so cute. And all of those little moments of love and care and that bond that you see growing make everything melt away. Like, having 2 kids is the best thing I've ever done. So hard though, I'm not gonna sugarcoat that part, but yeah, it definitely has got easier. I couldn't really pinpoint exactly what it is that's made it easier. It's just like a collection of things. That was a turning point for sure. The next one was sort of related. It was tips for taking both kids out on your own. And I genuinely say this, like, it's hard. It is hard, but I've done it since day dot because my toddler is genuinely feral. Like, he needs running around like a dog. Like, he is so incredibly active and hyper. We always like getting out of the house, but my big tips are pack lunches, snacks galore. Like, get yourself a good packed lunch box. We have these ones from Amazon, and they're really, really good. I'll link them down below. They're perfect little bento boxes that you just put everything in. They've got plenty of snacks and lunch and everything in that. Even if you're only going out for a couple of hours, take the packed lunch box. Trust me, you'll thank yourself later. Obviously, water, juice, don't forget any wipes, don't forget any nappies, don't forget change of clothes for your toddler and change of pants if you're not quite there with the potty training, because haha, we're still not. Prepare for the worst case scenario, basically, is what I'm saying. Take everything you could possibly need, including, yeah, your bottles, everything, just everything. Have your plan for the day in place, but then also have your backup plan. And if you have to go to your backup plan, doesn't matter, don't stress. Because I feel like nothing can go to plan. Like, when I say my days go to plan, like, they go to plan-ish, and then something bad happens and I just like revert back to my plan B sort of thing. So for example, we go to this park in town. It's like a big like kind of town park kind of vibe. It's got a little forest at the back, and we do that route quite a lot. There's like a nice like amount of slides and swings and stuff for George to play on. But if he has a meltdown, if he runs off, if Hallie, you know, has a poo explosion, like if something bad happens, basically, any of those things that can go wrong on a day out with the kids, especially when you're outdoors, have your backup plan. So this is a place that we drive to, and that for me is key, because once the kids are in the car, they're like strapped in and it's like much easier to get away. Whereas if we walk to somewhere with both kids, I find it very hard sometimes to get George back away from the park or somewhere else. Like it's quite hard to negotiate that, especially when I've not got, like I guess I can carry him and push Hallie in the buggy, but like it's not easy, do you know what I mean? He's heavy, like I've probably got bags, like, do you know what I mean? It's not ideal. So my backup plan would always be for that scenario to have like something that he cannot refuse in the car. So pure bribery, have something that he cannot refuse in the car, or say if like he's absolutely adamant he's not getting in the car, say he can have something that he can't normally have, like my phone to watch a bit of YouTube or something. Like that is not something we love doing, but oh my God, I will use it as a last resort if I have to. And I think because I use it as a last resort, it means more to him because it's like more special. To be honest, my other big tip would just be to go out with someone else. Like get your mum friend, get your people and go out together. Don't try and always do it on your own. But if you don't have that option, like I don't have loads of mum friends, don't get me wrong. I've got my sister-in-law who's also got a young kid and we often do stuff together. And then I've got my friends like Liv, who I'm sure a lot of you guys will know, Liv from At Home with Liv. And she's got a little boy called Arlo. We live like a few hours away from each other, but we always meet in the middle, whether that's like in London or we went to Stevenage before. We just went to like this massive soft play that I probably wouldn't have gone to on my own with George, because he would need me to be playing with him loads, because he wouldn't have had someone to play with other than Hallie. But he likes to be running around, and Arlo, Liv's kid, is just as crazy as George, so they got on like an absolute house on fire. So yeah, if you find a good mum friend you can go and do stuff with, it takes that load off slightly. And then like if I, for example, had to like run off after George or go and help George with something, I could just leave Hallie with her, and that was a lot easier. But if you don't have that option, because like not all of us do, honestly, like going to places that you know are kind of like kid proof, like a soft play with a decent gate on it, perfect. A soft play that serves good coffee, you know, is what it is. Go to those places that you think are kid proof, and also like you don't get that much judgment from. Like if your kid is running around mental, if your baby is crying, if things are going crazy, you're gonna have other people there that have been in that exact situation. So if you go, I've got this soft play that I go to that I feel like everyone gets it. Like when things are going badly, everyone there has been in the same situation at some point in their life, and I just think, you know what, like we're all just in this together. However, if I go to certain like, I can't even give you an example, like I don't go to these places, but like if I'm in a scenario where George is acting up or Hallie's crying, or you know, I'm dropping things and everything's just going everywhere. I've been in situations many a time where I feel really judged and like everything, I'm just frazzled and like my face has gone bright red and my brows are sweating. Like I just try and avoid it because it's just not worth it. No one's enjoying it. Just because you feel like you've got to go out doesn't mean you've got to put yourself in those situations. So just do stuff that you're comfortable with. And if that is a walk to the park, great. If that's a trip around the supermarket on like a Monday morning when no one else is there and you don't even have to get anything and it's just like a walk around, because like a toddler would love that, just do that. Like it doesn't have to be these big things, do you know? But yeah, find those things that work for you and your kids and your family and you feel comfortable doing, basically. I don't know if you can hear outside, but someone's like cutting the hedges outside my house. But anyway, the next one is on sleep. So I actually had two questions, one about Hallie, one about George. So I'll start with George because his sleep has been so much better recently. I'm actually going to go get something to show you. So George has been using this magnesium supplement. Let me just, can you see it? This magnesium supplement, and it's the Mighty Kids supplement. So it's the liposomal, I'm pretty sure you say it, liposomal maximum absorption magnesium supplement, and it's from 2 years old to adult can use it. I know I've spoken about it before, but supposedly magnesium really helps with sleep. I don't know if you've ever heard that hack about bananas, giving a banana before bed. It's because it's got so much magnesium in it, but obviously a supplement like this, a maximum absorption supplement, is going to be even better. It's a little bit expensive, I must say, but I would not buy it now. It's like £25 a bottle. I think you can get like a discount code occasionally, maybe it's £24, but you do have to pay for postage as well. But like I'll pay like any amount of money to get my kid to sleep. Before he was taking this, he was waking up 3 times a night, like in hysterical fits of like, he was just distraught all the time, whether that was night terrors, whether that was like he had like a restless leg, or like growing pains, sorry, like all of those things. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes he does still wake up with the growing pains in his legs, but that's often after he does like exercise, whether he's been at forest school, whether he's done, I don't know, if we've gone to like gymnastics or swimming or something, he does like, he gets achy muscles, I think, or growing back. I don't really know what it is, but anyway, I'm actually getting a new supplement for that because I've been speaking about it a little bit on here, but we went to the doctors. I've actually also spoken to the people that make Mighty Kids about what supplements are good for growing pains, and they've recommended vitamin D, but their multivitamin, which obviously has everything in it, has the perfect amount of vitamin D in it as well. So I'm going to get the multivitamin as well as the magnesium, and that's going to be what he has to help him with all of those things. But anyway, since having the magnesium, his sleep has transformed. He loves taking it. He takes like a little shot of it before bed, and he goes down to sleep a lot easier. Before, it was like a massive battle of literally running in and out of the room, constantly like coming to try and put him back in. I'd read him a story, and then he would just like run out again and like literally go like he'd be like running around like he'd had the zoomies, like it was crazy. And yeah, it's not like that anymore. He does, you know, if he's the right amount of tired, then he will get into bed, he'll let me read a story, maybe, I mean, 2 or 3 stories, and then what I always say to him is like, turn over, let me scratch your back. And then most of the time, not always, 80% of the time probably, he lets me scratch his back, and then I scratch his back to sleep. So that's pretty much what, and then I lay next to him until he falls asleep. I often fall asleep as well, and then Ash will come and wake me up, and then that's our sort of bedtime routine, after obviously doing bath time, brushing teeth, which is also an issue, but anyway. So yeah, that's our little like routine, what we do with George, and his sleep is so much better. He doesn't nap or anything. If he did even nap for a second, like if he closed his eyes in the car or something at like 3 p.m, we are effed. Like he is not going to sleep until like 10 p.m. at least. So yeah, we generally try and get him down at like 7, half 7. Generally, like after a busy day of doing stuff, he's absolutely knackered by that point, because he, like, it's one of those, he's like, he kind of needs that nap, but if he does nap, he will be up until really, really late. So we try and not let him have a nap, and then by like 6:30, like get upstairs, bath, try and brush teeth if he's not too like crazy, and then try and get to sleep. And it's working, and it's genuinely, since taking this, it's also calmed him down a little bit in the day, I would say. I don't know whether that's just age or the magnesium has helped with that as well. Yeah, like it's genuinely been a game changer for us. So if you are struggling with toddler sleep or any sleep from 2 years old, I highly recommend this. It is expensive, but for me, it's worth it. The other question on sleep was for Hallie, and that was, how long does Hallie nap and how is her sleep generally? And so I haven't spoken about it in a while, but I still use the Huckleberry app, which is the app for sleep and tracking, you know, tracking sleep and tracking also feeding and nappies and all that kind of stuff, if you want to do that. I no longer do milk or feeding on there, but I do still do the naps on there, because you have the feature on Huckleberry to tell you basically when the next nap is due. It's like a sweet spot feature, and it tells you when the nap is due and basically takes the guesswork out of it. You know when your baby's going to be tired enough to go to sleep, and it's just, yeah, it generally is always correct. And she's normally having 2 naps a day still. If like sometimes she just has 1 nap, but that's not ideal. I don't try for that to happen, but sometimes if she has a later nap in the morning, the next nap is too late, like in the day, and then it would just mean that she doesn't go down to sleep until again later. And for bedtime purposes, I like to get Hallie down to sleep before I sort George out, just if it's just me on my own, if Ash is working late, because then I can sort George and scratch his back and all that palaver, rather than trying to like rush him and then get Hallie. Like it just wouldn't work that way. If Ash is around, then it doesn't really matter, but often he works late and I do bedtimes. But anyway, so the Huckleberry app is here. I don't know if you can see that very well. She's got her 2 naps, and then the big dark blue bit is her actual sleep at nighttime. So yeah, she has 2 naps a day. 1 nap is about 45 minutes and the other nap is about an hour, roughly. Sometimes one of those naps is like an hour and a half and the other nap is like 30 minutes. It kind of just depends, but 9 times out of 10 she'll have a short nap in the morning and a longer nap in the afternoon. Although sometimes that switches, it literally just depends. Yeah, she's not exactly like clockwork, but generally like I know when she's gonna go down for her nap and I know roughly when she'll wake up. She has like a big awake window in the afternoon. I do kind of feel like with the Huckleberry app though, because that's telling me how long she's been asleep for. After that, when I stop her nap time on there, it will like reset itself and say her next nap is due here. And it just helps me, I just really like it. So yeah, Hallie's sleep is going really, really well. And night times, 80% of the time, she doesn't wake up in the night anymore. Which I haven't been shouting about on here because I didn't want to jinx it. But yeah, generally she doesn't wake up in the night, which is revolutionary. The first time she ever slept through the night, she was 9.5 months old or maybe 10 months old. And then it gradually, like maybe once a week she'd sleep through the night. Then it went to like maybe 2 nights a week she'd sleep at night. And then just like all of a sudden she just didn't wake up for like a whole week. And I was like in the night time and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We got one sleeper and then we just got to crack the other one because George is waking up still. But again, like I say, not as much since he's been taking this, so that's good. Obviously, when she's poorly, like all of that kind of stuff, it all goes out the window and she absolutely is awake and crying and screaming. I mean, you still have all of that, but it's not every single night, which is an absolute treat. The next one was, how did you get Hallie more interested in food? Because this person's 9-month-old barely eats, and that was exactly what Hallie was like. It was crazy, like she just wouldn't eat food. Like she hated me feeding her with the spoon, like she hated purees. She didn't, if I put food out in front of her, like baby-led weaning food, so like maybe sweet potato, like really, really soft, nice food for her to pick up and eat, she just wouldn't do it. But if I'm honest, I now think all of that was tied to the fact that she couldn't sit up properly, like until she was, you know, like older, like 8 months. I would say Hallie was about 8 months when she could sit upright properly, and that had a massive effect on her weaning. And then also her hands, like she was a little bit later to figuring out that motor skill of like grabbing things. Basically before, her thumb was like stuck like this and she wasn't able to pick up stuff very well. Like her thumb, I was really worried about that thumb thing, but that's kind of fixed itself now. She's able to extend and stuff. Her fingers are like very long, so I just think they're like hard to maneuver for her. And yeah, so those motor skills and stuff came a little bit later for Hallie, so picking things up didn't come naturally, and that came a lot later, which is when feeding came along. So to be honest, I didn't really do anything differently. I just carried on trying. That's all I could do. Like we had the health visitor, well, she still has a health visitor, like kind of reviewing her, like as her progress kind of develops, because she is later to doing things. Like she's not hitting her milestones on target, like, or when they would expect to. I'm way less stressed about it than I was before. I think I was putting a lot of emphasis on how important that was, whereas now, because she is hitting those things, although it is later, she is hitting them though, I'm less stressed about it. The only thing that she's not doing is showing any interest in crawling or pulling herself up or walking or just anything like that. She absolutely cannot do it. She has not got the strength in her joints to do that. But we think that's down to her hypermobility that she's been diagnosed with. I have hypermobility and I had it as a child as well. And it is hereditary. It kind of all marries in and makes sense. So it looks like, hopefully, fingers crossed, she is just gonna be that late bloomer, basically. And then by the time she is walking, whenever that is, she'll be running around in no time and causing havoc. So yeah, that's in terms of her development and stuff. Like I say, she's been late to hitting every single milestone, and all she can do now at 11.5 months is bum shuffle, in terms of, she still doesn't roll. Like she still doesn't even roll. It's crazy. But yeah, she can't crawl. She can't like get on her hands and knees. Like she can't like maintain that position. She can't pull herself up. She can't hold on to the sides and like stand. She can't stand really, like even if I hold her up. There was like one weekend where she was doing it really well. Like I kind of held her up and then she'd even take steps and stuff. But that's just completely gone. I don't know what that was. Maybe she just had like a stiff joint that weekend or something. But yeah, because she's hypermobile, the flexibility in her joints doesn't allow for her to like stand up like how you normally would. It affects quite a lot of kids, and so any kids that kind of walk later than 1, so maybe like 14 months, 16 months, 18 months even, like that's still kind of normal, like as long as they walk eventually, like it's all fine. If she's not crawling by 1, or looking to like hold herself up or anything like that, then they might refer us to a physio, which is fine, but they'll just kind of give us some exercises and things to do with her. I think we're kind of already doing a lot of those anyway, because I've kind of done my own research, but that's absolutely fine. And then if by 18 months she's not walking, they might look to get some sort of scan. I'm not entirely sure what kind of scan, but essentially like in the worst case scenario, there could be some form of cerebral palsy. I'm not thinking about that right now because I really can't. Like if that is the case, it's going to affect her long term, then obviously we'll look into it. But like right now, there's nothing that we can do. They don't diagnose it this young, especially not on the NHS, like there's no way. And she's happy, like she's super happy. Like, you know, there's nothing that we can do right now. Obviously, yeah, we'll just play that one by ear and yeah, go from there really. Like she's fine at the moment. Fingers crossed it is just one of those things where she's just gonna, by the time she's like 16 months or whatever, she'll be walking. It just takes her a little bit longer because of her hypermobility. In my head, I kind of think that's probably what it is, but you obviously never know. Obviously before, like I did have concerns about my baby's development, and I still do. Like I'm still glad that she's under the health visitor, like under like continuous review, I guess. So I have like the health visitor calling me every now and then, like, and I see them every now and then to talk about her development, see what she's up to. They come and visit, and she has like more reviews than you would normally have. So she's had already a review, like a 10-month review, and then she's gonna have her 12-month review like you would normally have. And then I think if those things still aren't hitting those milestones, she'll continue to have those. So if you have concerns about anything and you want advice and reassurance and all of that stuff, then definitely contact your health visitors. They are really helpful and really understanding, and sometimes it's just really nice to talk about things to someone, like, and just get it all out and like not feel like you're worrying about nothing or feel like you're overreacting. Like if you're worried about your kid's development, definitely check in with your health visitor. But yeah, that's what I did, and I definitely feel better having done so. Next one was advice for going from 1 to 2 kids, and I actually have done a whole video on this, and I'm going to link that down below because I feel like I have rambled loads in this video and I could ramble a hell of a lot more after this question. But what I would say about advice from 1 to 2, like the main thing is please look after yourself too, because everything is so much harder when you feel like shit. Everything is so much harder. And I didn't, and I suffered for it. And the kids probably, I mean, they didn't suffer, but like it could have been better. If I was happier, everyone else would have been happier. Like if you're not happy, how are you supposed to help everyone else be happy? Like genuinely, like that's what I would say. I would say reach out if you're not feeling happy, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're continuously stressed and feeling down all the time, reach out, talk to the doctors, like talk to the GP, even talk to the health visitor in those early weeks and early months. Again, I've done all of those things. I've spoken to the GP about feeling depressed. I've spoken to the health visitors about that. I've used services. Like, do it. Don't suffer in silence. Like, if you don't have someone to talk to, if you don't have like a mum or a friend or whoever who you feel like you could talk to someone else in the NHS service, like whether that is the health visitor or the GP. Like, I promise you, if you are feeling like you even need just someone to cry to, someone to rant to, they're there, and they are there for that reason. So don't like not do it. That is my number one piece of advice for anyone, because it's a really, really hard time, and it's amazing and beautiful and oh my God, so wonderful. But it's really hard, and don't forget that, and don't underestimate that. But yeah, if you just want general advice, then I'll link that other video down below. The next question was any plans for Hallie's birthday? Oh, I can't believe she's gonna be one. That's insane. Part of me feels really bad that we're not gonna do this big birthday party like we did for George, because times were very different then. Like, George was in pure COVID times. The first year of his life was so different. A lot of the people, my nearest and dearest, hadn't met George, or had met him, but like, didn't see him as much as you would in a non-COVID environment. Whereas the people that know and love Hallie have seen her loads, because life is so different now, and she's our second kid, and we're out and about, and we're not like at home, you know, being told that we can't leave our house. And also when we had George was literally miles away from all of our friends and family because we lived in a different county, whereas now again we live very close to our friends and family, so it's very different. And we're not planning on doing a big massive party for Hallie where we're going to invite loads of people, expect presents, any of that, like at all. If the weather's nice, we're going to do a barbecue and invite friends and family over, but just as if we were having a barbecue, like not this big thing about Hallie. I'll put her in a nice outfit, I'll get some balloons and we'll get her a cake. But other than that, like we're doing a small gathering of people. Like we're not making a massive deal out of it. And I feel like that's fine. Like she's one. To be honest, George's birthday party was way more for me than it was for him. George's birthday party when he was one, I put loads of effort into and like chucked myself into all the planning and stuff. Like invited loads of people, but the main reason, if I'm totally honest, was firstly, yeah, it was that first year of motherhood and like, you know, during COVID and stuff like that, but also Ash actually went away like the month before George's birthday for 6 months. He missed his son's first birthday, which was really sad. Like, and I just wanted something to look forward to and I wanted to celebrate it. I didn't want to just be me and George in a county miles away. So we came down and we planned this big party at my mum's friend's house. And we had a big party there because I wanted to be surrounded by people that love him, because he didn't have his dad there at the time, whereas that's not the case anymore for Hallie. And I think we're just gonna have like a little barbecue, and if it's not barbecue weather, we'll have a roast dinner. How's about that? The next one was, how do you keep your cool when it all gets too much and you get overstimulated as a mum? And mate, I felt this question very hard because I don't always keep my cool. Like I'm not super mum, like Jesus. It is very, very hard when you're in those moments where everything seems to be going wrong, where you're literally at breaking point because everyone's crying and you're trying to get out of the house, like it's just chaos everywhere. Oh God, getting out of the house. Oh my goodness, why is that the hardest thing in the world? Because as soon as I saw that question, I thought of like all these incidents where I've been trying to get out of the house with the kids and everyone's just like screaming at me, like it's all just, everything's falling off the sides, it's just chaos. But obviously as mums we try and keep our cool as much as we can, and the main thing for me when it's all so noisy and you're just trying to get with a task in order to help like the kids, whether that's cook dinner, because if you don't cook dinner then they're gonna go hungry, or if you're trying to get out of the house packing bags because you need to pack bags to plan ahead to get out of the house, etc., then I always try and use things like my AirPods. So I put my AirPods in and put the silence mode on, and so you can still hear but it's very muffled, and it basically just turns down the volume of all the background noise, and that helps me concentrate on the task at hand. I can still hear everything, so like obviously if George needs me, I'm there. If Hallie's crying, I can hear her. Like I know what's going on, but it's not just like bombarding me around my brain so I can't function. Like I genuinely feel paralysed sometimes when I get overstimulated with so much background noise. If the dog's barking and the tumble dryer's going and something beeping at me, the extractor fan or whatever it is, like, and then all the kid noise around that, like it's a lot sometimes. So I like using my AirPods. I have seen these little loop earplugs, and they do the exact same thing. Like you can put them in and there's like a couple of different modes. I think I haven't got them, but I've seen them and they look really good, and I think they're like 30 quid, and I'm pretty sure loads of people have discount codes and stuff. And it's exactly for that, like to help you feel less overstimulated with all the background noise. So yeah, I would definitely recommend those if you suffer with that, like overstimulation, like all the thoughts going in through your head, all the background noise. Like that is something that I find so helpful when I'm trying to deal with like a toddler tantrum or a meltdown about something. I just try and listen, and I try and make sure that George understands that I'm listening, even if his request is ridiculous, even if it doesn't seem important, because in the grand scheme of things the thing isn't important that they're crying about, but to them it is. And essentially, like imagine that you, in your relationship with your partner, you're really upset about something and they just like belittle you, say, oh, it doesn't matter, like why are you crying, like what's wrong with you? You would feel like absolute shite. And basically I just try and treat him like I'd like to be treated, like most of the time, obviously in a more toddler friendly way. Sometimes we can fight battles that are really not worth fighting, right? This next question was on budgeting and says, how do you stay so disciplined when it comes to budgeting? I find it so hard, and I totally get where you're coming from with this. I do find it hard, and you know what? I used to find it a lot easier, again, before kids. I feel like when it's just you and you just have the things that you buy, the things that you need and the things goals that you want, it's very easy to just like, I don't know, I found it easy to like stay on task with things, and I use a few apps that help me. I use Hyperjar, which I spoke about in my budgeting video recently. However, I am actually going to be switching to Monzo, because Monzo, you can get interest on that. I can talk about that in next month's budgeting video. But I also use a spreadsheet to allocate like certain money towards certain things, and I feel like having like a visual tool like an app like Monzo or Hyperjar, if you don't have money in that pot for that thing, you can't spend that thing. Like, that's how I see it. That was a lot easier before I had kids. Now I have kids, I find it so much harder, because when you're out and about, it's gonna make your life so much easier if you buy them a toy, or if you buy them something from the, like a fruit shoot, like, or whatever. If it's gonna make your life so much easier, sometimes you do just do it, because it's like, well, this £3 or this £5 is gonna buy me a happier child. Like, and sometimes you just gotta take that like cost versus benefit analysis and just kind of go with it. But generally, yeah, like using apps and things I find really helpful, budgeting properly every single month, and then seeing results. I feel like seeing those results in your savings accounts and stuff, and not feeling like you are working paycheck to paycheck kind of thing, it kind of all helps. Like when you start seeing results, I feel like that definitely gets better. But I do feel like sometimes if you're also like spending money because it makes you feel better, I feel like that's an issue in itself. Like I've definitely been there, like buying clothes because you feel like it's gonna make you feel better about something, or if you're on a night feed and you're just scrolling through like Vinted and spending loads of cash. You know, we've all been there, but yeah, I just don't know, I feel like the bigger like picture goal is like really important to me, and like knowing that I want to have X amount of money in my savings for this and X amount of money in my savings for this. So if I buy this thing right now, I'm not going to achieve that goal. And it's like, I like working towards things and sort of hopefully achieving them. I kind of get a sick kick out of it, I guess. Okay, I feel like I've rambled so much in this video, so I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're still here, thank you for sticking around until the end. I will be back to vlogging very shortly, so there'll be a new video up on my channel very soon. But yeah, I need to go and do a load of washing and stuff before Haddie gets up from her nap, so I'm gonna love you and leave you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.
'Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby.